My guest today is Robert Rodriguez. You've probably seen the accomplishments. USA Amputee Soccer, national level triathlete, adaptive sports pioneer, disability rights advocate, and a man who has spent years helping others navigate life after limb loss. But this conversation isn't about medals, championships, or television appearances. It's about what happens after the applause. It's about identity, purpose, advocacy, and the responsibility that comes with becoming a symbol to inspire a community. Robert has spent a lifetime refusing to accept limitations. Today, we're talking about where that journey has taken him, what he's fighting for now, and why his most important work may have nothing to do with sports at all. This is a thoughtful and powerful conversation with Robert Rodriguez, and it starts right now. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Amp'd Up211 Podcast. I'm Rick Bonkowski, and we are excited today because we are doing another in-studio interview. Very, very special guest. A previous guest, Mr. Robert Rodriguez, is here, also known as Robert Anthony. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Thank you. So glad to be here. Appreciate you for having me, as always. Yes.
Of course. And Robert flew in last night from New York City, and we are literally here to tape a podcast, actually handle a little bit of production for the upcoming I Am Amputee teaser that we're putting together. So today is a big production day, and Robert was kind enough to join us for not only this episode, but also for some other endeavors that we're getting involved in. And it's a different vibration, wouldn't you say, when you're in person versus kind of like the Zoom call? You know, how do you perceive it?
Well, not looking at you through a box is much better. Like seeing you in person and that gracious smile. But I'm a people kind of guy, so I do feed off vibes and energy. So I really love being in studio with you.
Yeah, no, that's it. I really like it, and I wish we could do it more. But so often guests are out of, they're not here in the Chicagoland area, or they're not even in the country, and that gets tricky. Sometimes just the managing the time changes get tricky.
Yeah.
And to have someone here is certainly special. Robert actually was episode 6 of the Amp'd Up211 podcast. He was what I refer to as one of the founding fathers of the show. He was one of those people that I cautiously, sort of timidly reached out to say, will you please be on my little podcast? And he was so gracious and so offering of himself. And he's very close to my heart when I think of the nostalgia of when we started the show. Now we're, 80-something episodes in. We'll probably hit 100. Yes.
That's big time.
Yes. No, it's great. And you had said something to me the other day when we were talking on the phone that really got me processing. And you had said, and it was very complimentary, which I appreciate, especially coming from you. You said, man, you've done something that a lot of people don't do. And I said, well, what's that? And you said, it's consistency. And I thought about that word, consistency. It's not a word I use very often. And I'm a business guy and I do a lot of training. And I thought, that's a powerful word. It really presses into showing up.
Yep.
And putting in that 10,000 hours, making sure that you're just always chipping away, right? I don't care how big the oak is, at some point it's going to fall, as long as you're consistent.
Yes, sir.
And you stay with it, you stick to it, you keep going at it. And I very much see you in that same space too. Because, of course, meeting you for the first time, I was following you. I wanted to have you on the podcast. And, I think about all that you've done. And just to remind, our guests, aside from all your accomplishments, I want to do a quick recap as far as how you became an amputee, because you've been an amputee pretty much your entire life. In your words, just to remind the audience, how did you end up in this community?
Yeah. So one, just so thankful to be here with you. And when we're speaking, when I look at you, kind of what we talked about, there's so many people who have been in this space who, after a year or two, maybe it's not right for them. The resources aren't there. Life has changed. So consistency and consistent and persistent are two things that I try to live by. That's how I've gotten to where I am today. You know, might have not been the best in some of the spaces that I was in, but I was the hardest working. I continue to show up. And the reason why I feel like none of us hear the word consistency or commitment as much as we used to, because this is such an instant gratification era. Everything that we want and need is so fast. Our expectations are fast. And so that's why we're not as committed, because of all the options that are out there.
Yeah.
To remind the audience and the viewers, is my leg, obviously I'm a congenital amputee. I had a birth defect and fibular hemimelia, which is very interesting. I always thought it was rare until now I see the young lady on Love Island and she had fibular hemimelia, and I'm like, we're not that rare anymore. There's all these fibular hemimelia amputees walking around here. So I was born with fibular hemimelia, and my mom decided to amputate at 10 months old. She wasn't sure if she was making the right decision for me.
Yeah.
And it was less about my leg at the time and more about the fact that my father was in and out of my life. My mother's, father had passed away, and we didn't have a lot of money. It wasn't easy where I was. And then ultimately my house burning down and going through all the changes with technology. I mean, we don't have cool feet and legs that we have here now. There were no all black carbon fiber prosthetic legs.
Yeah.
Sleeves didn't exist.
Yeah.
My only suspension was like a Salesian belt and liners, and just I went through all the changes of technology, and I grew up in the industry, but I like to say I also grew up with the industry. So being a victim of abuse, being around addiction, I had to learn how to use my prosthetic leg instead of as something that held me back. And being an amputee, I went through all the pain. I went through all the changes. My leg and foot breaking in the middle of a crowd of a sports game, or coming off in front of others, and understanding that sometimes even a year would go by and I'd have to wear the same prosthetic going into school, and it was tight because I was growing and my leg was small, but my mom didn't have insurance for me to get a new prosthesis. So I had to be in a tighter fitting leg, for a few months, and just going through the things as a young man that really made me tough. So for me as an amputee, I didn't lose my leg as an older person. I lost my leg as a child. I couldn't hide. There was no hiding. I had to go to school. I couldn't collect disability. I couldn't stay home. I couldn't wear pants. I had to get out there. I had to face my fears. And ultimately, as a child, I was insecure. I was depressed. Suicide was on my mind. But my family, my situation forced me to learn how to love myself and how to deal with my situation. And I see that with a lot of people today. They're not dealing with their situation. And thus why I do what I do.
And that's really powerful stuff, and certainly a testament to your resilience and the fact that you've remained, very present and very consistent in the community. And your skill set and the many disciplines that you've engaged. For me, at times, I will sort of revisit your bio and think, wow, it's all over the spectrum. And I feel like in a lot of ways, being an athlete really was the thing that was a catalyst, maybe as a young person, that gave you the confidence build, the foundations that were necessary for you to maybe navigate your world. Because, growing up different and, having that moment probably very early on where you sort of look around, and kids are so incredibly insecure as it is. Me as a child being, at least what physically looked just normal, I was full of all kinds of insecurities as a kid. Whether it was being picked, for the team, or, is that girl going to like me, or, whatever it was, there are crushing kind of insecurities when you're a child. So to grow up knowing how obviously different you are, and it's so external, right? Because once you're in shorts, it's, what's that? And sports being that thing that you could say, well, I'm pretty normal. In fact, maybe in some cases, I'm even better at this than the kids that are quote unquote able-bodied,
Yep.
right? So do you think that played a major role in you sort of developing your identity just as a person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was probably one of the key factors, anchoring factors, if you will, because it was external and I had internal issues as well, but I had no choice. There was no running from it. I had no choice. And if I wanted to compete, I think the hard thing for me was there was a point where I knew, even though I had this prosthetic leg and it was holding me back to a degree, and maybe if I was running when I played football or baseball or basketball, I would always have in the back of my mind, my foot might break, my leg may came off, fine. And there was a level of kids that I could beat. There was always a level of kids I knew, all right, I'm faster than them. In my mind, I'm better than them because that's what school brainwashes us to do, to compete,
Sure.
be better than our peers. So all right, I'm better than these kids. But then when you get to that top tier kids of the all-stars, I always felt like I was just literally, no pun intended, a foot behind because I just couldn't get there. I just could not, hit as many home runs or have a good hip swing or hit as hard because I was overcompensating. It's funny, I see guys from high school now and they were like, I remember when we used to be in the weight room, Rob, because I would always be in the weight room. I wasn't a big guy, tiny, skinny kid, but I always wanted to make up for it. I knew I had to work harder. I knew I had to put in extra work because of Michael Jordan videos and athletes before. And I knew that they didn't have a disability, but I knew that the drive was something that I had also inside of me. So I always used that drive to get over to the next hump or to try to overcome some of those stigmas that I had in my own mind and how people saw me. So sports was always that way to show people what I can do instead of what I can't, but also a way for me to prove to myself that, you know what, doesn't matter if I look different, if I am a little different, I can do this, and then I can show that the other people who might not be as good as me or might be overweight because no one else was missing their legs, but I knew there were other people who looked up to me because they would tell me, man, you're so cool, even with my prosthetic as a teenager. So I held on to that, and those little nuggets really pushed me through.
Yeah, no, I could see that because we seek the approval of our peers. And I think even as we become adults, approval becomes very much a part of our validation and wanting to, hear those nice things and compliments or, appreciation, just that sharing of energy or love and, just being able to meet you in person and just being like, okay, we're in the car together now. Let's go drive over to the studio.
Yeah.
There's an energy and you feel it. It's palpable where you say, okay, this is like my people. And, we have something that very much connects us, not even as much as, we did a podcast together and we've always kind of kept in touch, right? There's DMs here, DMs there, and we're, liking and sharing different things. But to be able to revisit is very special. And I appreciate this moment. And I want to kind of live in that, right? Because so often we don't kind of like stop and go, this is pretty fucking cool right now.
Yeah.
So for me, thinking about how many sports you've engaged and not even really on a dabbling kind of level, because some people will try a lot of things and they're active. They might try basketball, they might try swimming, they might try biking or whatever. But you have competed on a very high level in so many disciplines, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing that sort of, rocks my world is like Rob doesn't half-ass it. Like he goes for it. When he says, I'm going to do this, it's, Team USA or it's, triathlete champion. It's never like, I'm going to do that in my spare time. I think I'll play a little pickleball, right? Which is what like middle-aged guys like me. I think I'll try pickleball, let's see if I like it. No, Rob is, I'm going to do this. I'm going to compete and I'm going to try to be the best. at what I do. And that takes, a very, very disciplined mind. But the question that I have is, given all of those accomplishments, like, what would you say is challenging you right now?
I love that. Well, one, the first thing that you were saying about the people we are, I would say our vibe attracts our tribe, and us finding each other and the energy being together. I love it. It is a moment. A lot of times we're not in the present. We're so focused on the past or the future. What's next? My flight's later. Did I check into my flight? No, but taking a second and being present. That's why I'm like, let's get a photo.
How many times we look at our phone.
Yeah. That's why I'm like, let's get a photo. Let me get a video just to remember it for a second. Being in the studio with you, cherishing the moment of just right now.
Yep.
And I know when I see somebody, like I said, and you can feel it, I can feel it, like, okay, yeah, maybe this is our first time meeting in person, not our first time connecting and speaking. We've kept in touch, and immediately, though, the love is there. It's like having a friend and you don't see them for 2 years, but as soon as you guys get back together, it's like you never left.
Absolutely.
That kind of feeling. And so I love that, because I feel like we are a part of the same tribe, and that's part of the vibe. And when pursuing sports, that was also my mentality. I was trying to find my tribe. Where do I fit in?
Yeah.
I competed in able-bodied sports my entire life. And now I'm in this adaptive world, and I can compete. Because if my leg breaks, their leg can break too. And if my leg can come off, their leg can come off too.
Yeah.
And so now it's a little bit more of an even playing field, if you will. And I fell in love with it. And I was 25 when I made the AMP1 basketball team. And that was really what changed my life and opened up my eyes. And the people that I saw around me were competing. And I'm always like that. I mean, when I get into something, I want to do it. Even it's like, how good can I really get at this? If I dedicate, because I get very obsessive, and I'm like, if I lock in on this, how far can I actually take this? And so that's how I pursue things. A year and a half ago, ending triathlon, before getting back into volleyball, it was cornhole, and I went to the cornhole world championship. And my wife
I didn't even know that.
Yes. And
cornhole.
I have a cornhole sponsor. I'm still sponsored right now. Shout out to Average Joe's.
Wait a minute. People have cornhole sponsors?
Yeah. Average Joe's, man. Yes, and I've gone to the world championship, or was it Worlds? It was Worlds.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and got my butt kicked, and so
got my butt kicked.
Yeah, literally. It was just because these guys are amazing cornhole players. This is all they do, and
they wear a blindfold when they do it.
Yeah, I mean, I've competed with some, top of the line, and so just any world I get into, I want to try to compete. I want to try to be the best and show that. Whatever you do, it's so cheesy and cliche, but it's like, if you put your mind to it, you can do it.
Yeah.
And this life shouldn't be wasted. If we have the opportunity to try to pursue something, then we should give it our all. And so I've done that.
One chance,
Literally one time you get
one chance.
Yeah. So it's funny. My wife would hate that I was saying this on a podcast, but I think it's like 2 years ago or something, or a year ago, and I was in between cornhole, stopped doing triathlon. I think it was right before I made the USA beach volleyball team, and she's like, "How much stuff are you gonna do with this life?" And I'm like, "What? What do you mean? How much stuff am I gonna do?
This life,
everything. I want to do everything."
Stop doing this.
No, but because she holds down
crazy,
the fort.
Robert.
Yeah, well, she holds down the fort at home, so I can do amazing things. So I can live in my purpose. Her and I have been together for 19 years. This is our 10th year being married, and she's been so supportive of everything that I do.
You're so blessed to have her.
I mean, beyond blessed. I would not be the person that I am today without her making sure that the other things are in line. And so I can be my best self out here in the world, making an impact for others. And my wife is a nurse too, so she gets it. She understands.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that either, and that makes a lot of sense to me, that she's actually in healthcare.
Yeah, she gets it. And so to answer your question, what challenges me now is now saying, hey, I've accomplished a lot of things, because that's the conversation that her and I have. I don't have to go out there and be so grabby on everything. Plus now I'm 39, my son is 13, my daughter's 11. They have aspirations and dreams, and they need me present. And so what challenges me now is being able to still keep my career up and make an impact in the world and the mission that I feel that God has me on as a person. And then also my first dream and my love of being a present father, being a present husband, and being able to do the thing. So when you're like, hey, you can stay for 2 days. And I'm like, no, I can come in one day because that's what I do. I've gone to Arizona and back in the same day, Texas and back in the same day. Tomorrow's Father's Day. I'm going to get back and be with my family.
And I had,
So that's what challenges me, to
I have
answer
to
your question.
apologize. I hadn't really thought of that tomorrow is Father's Day.
Yeah.
And I'm a father too, but for some weird reason, it just kind of slipped my mind. And then when you were kind of like, no, I'm going back that night, I'm going back. And then I think I looked at the calendar and I thought, oh shit, it's Father's Day.
Yeah.
He's got to get home.
Yeah. Well, I got to get home and then I leave Monday night. So also, so that's the thing. So that's what challenges me there, is being present for the family.
And I think that is so worthwhile that you acknowledge that. And because you've been in so many high profile spaces of this community, and let's look at that for a moment, whether it was adaptive sports or it was product endorsement. I mean, I've literally opened magazines and I'm like, oh, wow, that's Rob.
Yeah.
And it's like a major ad campaign for a liner or something, in the industry. And, the public speaking that you do now, and the foundations and the teams and all the things that you have become fuel for those endeavors, having an impact on policy and lawmaking and all of the various. Is there ever a moment where you go to that sort of space that your wife's at, where you think, yeah, this is a lot?
Yes and no. And that's the answer I give her too, and she hates it. How do you say yes and no in the same sentence? And so yes, of course, it becomes a lot. But the truth is, it's a mission. I feel like I'm a tool. I'm pretty sure you feel the same way.
Sometimes.
We are being used for this talent that we have, and so it's a gift. It's a gift. It's what you asked me earlier, and you're like, we talked about, if we had all the money in the world, what would we be doing? And like I told you, I'd be doing exactly what I'm doing right now, just at a larger scale. So it is a lot, but it's a lot, so I own it.
Yeah. And I think you can very much answer this next question in a very sort of experienced, driven way. To the outside world, because you experience so many facets of the community and you engage people that are kind of outside of this orbit, what do you think is the thing that most people get wrong about amputees or the community?
Jokingly and not jokingly, is that we're all veterans, because I'm still getting thank you for your service. I mean, it's 2026, people. What camera am I losing here? This camera? Please, 2026, not everyone's a veteran. Please, come on now.
I get that a lot too.
Still.
Want to hear a funny story? I used to have these camouflage shorts that I would wear every once in a while. And I noticed that when I wore those, I would get like 3x the amount of thank you for your service.
Yep.
Because I was simply just wearing a camouflage fabric.
Yep.
They immediately assumed, oh, there's a vet, right? And sometimes it's so assumptive that they'll say, well, what division? They don't even say thank you for your service.
Yeah.
They walk up to me and go, well, what division? I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? What are you talking about?
I've got so many stories of people thinking I was a veteran, and yes, it's fine. I always thank all the vets for their service, and
Absolutely.
I never take ownership. But the lack of awareness, we need more episodes like this to get out to the world, so people understand that there are everyday amputees or people with limb difference out there.
We come in all shapes, sizes, and flavors. And we are in all walks of life. There is no sort of one size fits all. And I think the one that I tend to get sometimes is that somehow what I'm wearing, it makes me faster, better, almost like the Bionic Man kind of concept.
Yep.
And I'm, I'm pretty quick to say, yeah, that this doesn't necessarily make me, run faster.
No.
In fact, some of my daily activities, I feel that I have to work harder when I'm wearing this
Of course.
than when I did when I didn't have to wear this. But it's all fine. Any type of curiosity to me is a good thing, because I think those conversations are important. And in terms of normalization, I don't want people to see those conversations as a taboo kind of concept. It's kind of like when you were getting coffee today at the hotel, and we were just having a very, let's call it like amputee conversation.
Yep.
And there was a lady like standing there at the coffee station, and I could see her kind of like,
What's going on here?
like, I'm surrounded by these. She looks at you, she looks at me, and she's okay. Now I'm the minority, right? Which is certainly turnabout, but it's an interesting dynamic.
Oh yeah.
And it gets, it gets in my head, and I start to process that a bit. The other thing I wanted to talk about was in public speaking, which you do, quite a bit. What themes do you tend to pull away from your experience? And is that more driven by your audience? And does that boil down to a couple of major themes? How do you craft those types of presentations when you're in front of a large group of people?
Yeah, absolutely. So the public speaking space is so important to me. That's my podcast, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's what I do naturally. I feel like as an athlete, I've been on USA Soccer, USA Triathlon, USA Volleyball. I would love to think, my athletic skills are my top talent, but it's really how I communicate, and love to be able to have a chance for people to just listen to me, not share my story, but to educate and empower. Like, that's really what the foundation of my message and the mission is. And when I'm doing a speech, whether it's to kindergartners or college kids or employees, and it's a company merger, no matter who the audience is, what I'll do is learn about who I'm speaking to first, where I'm speaking, what's the need, is there a theme, and then I incorporate everything from there. So, of course, I can get on stage and kind of talk and present in a way at any given time, at any given moment. I don't have stage fright. Again, I feel like it's something that was given to me by my faith. And so I do try to make my speeches fit the theme and the need, but I also just try to let it flow out of me too, so it's natural and it's authentic.
Was there ever a time when, and I know you've been doing it for a while, was there ever a time where you were kind of like, this is hard, or this is a skill that I need to, almost like, I always say, public speaking is like any other thing that you have to develop over time. I always struggled with it when I was young and in business, and now it doesn't bother me at all, where someone will say, hey, we're assembling the team. We need you to speak this morning. 20 years ago, that would have been like, I would freeze up and, well, I haven't prepared anything, and I'm not really sure, what are we talking about today? Whereas now I'm very, okay, no problem. And I can just, just kind of just pitch and go. How has that evolved for you over the years?
Yeah. Well, again, I love speaking in a sense because, so when I was young, in elementary school, my parents would put me in the talent show. And that's when I used to have to wear shorts. So it's funny, I have all these pictures of me in the talent show. That was the first time being on the mic, if you will.
Yeah.
And then I grew up and I started rapping, and we had a rap group. So I was performing on stage.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then I joined the Amp'd team. And when we would present, it was 10 guys. So I just had to kind of spin my spiel and within these guys and develop it from there. And then when Jovan, one of my best friends, and I just started doing it in New York, and it was just him and we had to fill up all this space. And then I was like, okay, learned how to present. Was I ever scared? Every presentation, I have that excitement, right? It's not nervousness, it's excitement. And I always want to get it right. And I want to hit the pinpoints the right way. And always, every speech.
Yeah.
So I always have that excitement. That's how I know it's meant for me. But it's developed because of all those categories I've had since a young man. I always say two things I've been built to do is to speak and to travel. When I was 9, I got my first suitcase for my birthday. My dad always jokes about it. I was 9 years old and I got a suitcase because for a birthday present. I've always been traveling, and I've always been able to get up and present myself. And to me, it's the biggest way I can make an impact, not only to people like us, everyday average people, our peers, but to the youth, because that's how I feel like I can impact the future.
And it seems like you've had the pleasure of occupying so many stages. You know, you've been in that athletic situation where you had to find, the performance, you had to compete. And I think anyone that's engaged sports knows that, when you're in the starting blocks, there's nervousness.
Oh yeah.
And you have to manage that and stay focused. And like you're describing, even, that I can relate to as well in music, there's always that like 5-10 seconds before you go on where you're, okay, am I
good? Yeah.
Do I know what I'm doing?
Yes.
Is this gonna be believable?
Always.
And like, how do I get myself pumped up and ready to go?
Yeah.
And, so much of that. And, I always compare it to like being young in business and having to go into some meetings, or we were trying to close like a large deal or something, and I was very green, and I'd be like waiting in like a hallway or a lobby to be called in, and just finding the words. And my dad would always say, always look like you own the room. Always. Don't, it's about posture. It's about strong eye contact. It's about a deliberate and firm handshake. Like, don't ever slouch or not make eye contact, things like that. So I do believe it's a skill that we have to find. And just like any other muscle, you kind of have to take it to the gym and work it out.
Yep. And
I'm pretty crazy about prep. Everything with me is prep.
Me too.
Get ready. And no matter what that is, whether that's, typing out notes, practicing what I'm going to say, things like that, it's all very important. You've had so much involvement with children, and whether that's events or speaking and teaching and camps and all kinds of various things. How much of that interaction has played a role in your fatherhood?
Yes. So, I mean, that's always been the theme since I was a kid. So I could be a 10 or 11-year-old boy, and promises that I made to myself was to be a good father. When I become an adult, I'm going to inspire some other kids so they don't feel the way that I felt. So they don't lack that confidence, that depression, that insecurity. So that's always been something that I've promised to myself since I was a child. And so the little boy inside of me makes sure that we stay on that mission. And that plays into being a dad, because when I get too serious, I realize, chill out a little bit, Dad. When I get too preachy, because, of course, yes, I'm a public speaker. And sometimes in that house, the family's getting a full presentation, right? So that they have to sit through. There's no getting up and going to the bathroom when dad is on his mission to make sure I'm getting the kids a message.
And are you ever getting like the eye roll from anyone?
Am I getting the eye roll? I'm getting yelled at, and I'm getting called annoying now, since my kids are 13 and 11, and they've seen the videos. They've been at the camps. They've helped kids who have had limb difference or disabilities. And so my kids know it. They know what their dad does. They've been in speeches. They've seen me speak in front of thousands of people before. They've seen me on TV before. They've seen me compete around the world before. So my kids know the deal. To them, it's kind of like, all right, Dad, we get it.
That's just what he does.
Yeah. But they do love going to school and be like, well, you can Google my dad. Like they kind of like that flex. But
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
yeah, it's kind of cool,
Yeah.
So, but it helps me stay grounded because I work with the youth, and my son has his own struggles that he's going through now, and as a young man, as I did as a young man at his age, and so it constantly reminds me to stay on my mission, and making sure that I'm here again. Like I said earlier, I'm on a mission. From God to help people, but I have to help my family at home. So it allows me to stay grounded, being able to help outside the home, as well as every day reminded that there's also a job that I need to do every day when I wake up for my children.
No, it's a great mission statement. The other thing I wanted to ask you, I was thinking about it the other day, because you're in such a public space and you have relationships with, major companies, whether we're talking about, Hanger Clinic, or we're talking about, Alps, or, just these, these major brands, right, that are in the amputee space. Do you feel like the public is starting to understand more about the amputee experience in an authentic way, or have some of the companies and some of the more powerful marketing entities just done a pretty good job of you're laughing?
I'm laughing. This is a really good question, Rick. You got me. Because now I'm like, okay, you got to answer.
You're like, he's winding up.
Yeah. I'm laughing. I hear it. Keep going.
Have some of these companies just done a very good job of sort of polishing and shining up the inspirational piece, because perceptions tend to vary. We've moved into this, and I hear this a lot from amputees now, this toxic positivity concept,
Yeah.
I mean, I was just talking to, a 5 times gold medal Paralympian in an interview who at one point described himself as like an inspiration monkey. Like that's how he felt.
Yep.
That was what he was framed as. I'm just here to do a dance, to jump, to make everyone feel inspiration.
Yep.
So it goes into a deeper space, this thought process.
Yep.
Where it's, does the public really understand? Or is that just driven by the advertising or the messaging that tends to shine a little brighter? And, how do we get the public perception into more of an authentic space?
Man, well, yes.
You're like, wow, that's a big one.
No, I mean, it is. That's an amazing question. And the first part is the truth. I think it's diluted. We were going towards a place, a few years ago, I would say maybe about 6 or 7 years ago, where, well, a few of us have a joke. A lot of us top athletes, oh, you're such an inspiration. You're such an inspiration. We do it to each other like it's just amputees. Really? Yeah, we have it's a bunch of amputees. There's something online, and
I love that.
Yeah, we have it's a whole joke, an album
like an
cover.
Inside joke, like,
it's an inside joke.
You're
Yeah,
such an inspiration.
Yes, we do it to each other all the time. It's so funny. It's just a bunch of amputees who kind of, because in our own worlds, that's what everyone says to us.
Yeah,
and so. Have I done the song and dance? Of course. Do I know it's the song and dance? Absolutely. But it's also, there's a point where, again, what is my mission? I don't allow my pride, my ego, or the situation to get into the way of my mission. When I look at how I'm going about life, living life and being in the moment, but also fulfilling my purpose and realizing that it is a game. right? Society and civilization are built to be this way. And if I want to have the greatest impact, that's kind of what we said before is, I'm still here. That's why I'm able to reinvent myself. You have to be able to reinvent yourself. That's why brands do like me. And because I know I can show up, I'll be ready, and I will do the job. And you know what? Sometimes it's not about being an inspiration monkey, because is there going to be a kid that's going to be there? Is there going to be one person there that I might be able to impact? If there is, then fine. Give me the shoes and I'll go out there and do it. Because if I can get to that kid, I'm going to, I did an event. We did an event with Dick's House of Sporting Goods, and it was an all adaptive event. And it was a young lady who was missing her hand who came from a soccer game who was coming to buy cleats. And we were literally doing an adaptive event. They stumbled on the event. And then she got featured in the news. And her mom and I had a long conversation. And then I saw her again 6 months later, and she told me how much of an impact that whole situation was to her. And I was there speaking and covering the event and working and doing the song and dance because I'm an athlete. But guess what? That one young lady, I was able to make an impact on her as an adaptive athlete who stumbled on our event. And that's what it's about. So I think it's about, if you feel like you have purpose in what you're doing, then none of it's work, and you don't feel like you're being used and abused. I'm always going to be using the situation to my benefit. That's how I see it.
I really appreciate that sentiment, because I tend to agree too that if I can reach one person, just one, and I always thought to myself, if someone hears our conversation that's been struggling, and this conversation gets them out of the chair, to don a prosthesis, to walk to the mailbox, whatever it is, that little win, just that I did it moment, who cares? Because that's all that matters.
Yeah.
Right? Because every once in a while they'll catch me off guard, because I'll think, well, we're just kind of cruising along, and, we're doing this podcast thing and trying to get these stories out, and they're important to me, and I hope they're important to people. And then you get that message, that DM or that email. And, I've told my partner, Sarah, I'm like, it made me cry. This person, what they were saying and how it affected them and how it changed them. And I said, I broke down. Like it was like such a beautiful moment for me that something reached a person that needed it, Yep. And whether we're even talking, if we want to go way back in time when you did Able, right? When I saw that, oh, dude, I was just like, oh my God, that is so awesome.
Thank you.
It really moved me. I mean, it hit me in a way in that moment. I needed that so bad, like so bad. And, you see a version of me now, and we're walking around and we're joking. And I mean, I wasn't that person at that time. I was struggling, trying to figure this all out. I want to be comfortable. I want to be able to walk right. My gait sucks. And, I was struggling, and it just gave me that little, it's okay. Like, keep going. It's okay. It's going to work out. And to me, that's, it's just golden. It's just something I treasure, and I revisit those feelings, and it just continues to propel me forward and to do things like this,
Thank you. Well, thank you for saying that. I truly appreciate that. And to know that any work that I've done has had any guidance or inspiration, that means a lot. And what you're doing here, that impact is having something that you probably don't even know. It's inspiring so many others. And I have a young man, and I told him I was coming to Chicago. He's like, of course I know that podcast. I was like, all right, cool. So just so there's other people that you don't even know who are listening and watching. And maybe, that's not the version of you. This is the best, the improved version. Just like I wasn't the same guy then either. And so thank you. I'm glad we're on this journey together.
No, that's great. And it's always nice to hear when someone says that, someone was, kind of cheering from the sidelines. Yeah, that's awesome. I know that. Let's talk a little bit about your advocacy when it comes to accessibility what are the things that when you look at, accessibility issues, policy issues, let's call it the boring stuff, right? Because a lot of people don't really operate in those spaces when they start thinking about the way laws are made, or how our governing bodies, see people like us. What are the things that you want to see change? Like if you said, here's the three things that I think lawmakers or policymakers need to recognize about limb loss or limb difference.
Yes. So I'm very fortunate enough to now be in a space where we are working with legislators and ambassadors and senators. And it's a very new space for me. And what we're changing now is important. I think it's coverage for just any durable medical equipment. I think any across the board. This has nothing to just do with prosthetics. I mean wheelchairs. I mean AFOs. I mean anything across the board. I don't know what the rubric is. I want to say it's going to be 100% of people, but they usually say I think it's like 80 to 90% of people. Either you're going to end up with a disability within your lifetime or someone you know. And so I truly believe, they say, Canada's healthcare is great. Like, I think we should be pushing to have the best healthcare. It's because if our healthcare improves, that means mental health will improve, but then functioning will improve. That means people can become contributors to society. They can have jobs. They can pay taxes. So I believe, yes, a prosthetic should be covered. Your first prosthesis should be 100% covered. You should be able to have two legs and not be concerned, so you can get in a shower and walk or go to the pool and just do the things that someone else is able to do if they tear their ACL and they're able to have reconstructive surgery. So just having quality of life, because people who don't have a disability, either their mother, their father, down the line, they're going to need some type of medical equipment. So I don't understand why we don't put more attention, time, finances, and resources into durable medical equipment, devices across the board. It would change the lives of people. Why do we want more people sitting home? Why do we want more people depressed, not mobile? Mobility is key, and us being amputees, we understand that. I would rather take the stairs than the elevator any day, just because I can and I have the choice to, and I know people who are not able to. So being in the space of this is fighting. It's to me, it's not boring. Of course it is to the average world person who has an eye on it, but this is going to change what we're doing with So Everybody Can Move, the legislation to push secondary prosthetics. The other legislation to push for durable medical equipment is going to change the lives of so many. And a little boy who was like me, who couldn't get a running leg to compete at sports, so I had to use my walking leg that would break all the time. There's in a few years from now, there's going to be a 10 or 15-year-old that's able to compete at the highest level, to be a Paralympian, and to show people what they can really do in school amongst able-bodied athletes, all because their family doesn't have to afford to do so, but because insurance will pay for it.
Yeah, and I know that when I've spoken to family or friends that don't really understand the community, they are surprised when I say, there isn't a one like leg system that does everything. If you want to be active and you want to engage sport, or there are things that you want to do that just make life easier, like you mentioned, just be able to stand up in the shower, which I know for a lot of people is important to them. Having a second leg that's waterproof and they can swim, bathe, do the things that they want to do. Having an everyday leg that someone might call for, walking and just general duty, and saying, okay, I would like to make it a goal to, be more active, go on a hike or a run,
Yeah.
whatever that is, and to understand that, well, those legs that you have, you're never really going to be able to do that because that leg doesn't operate that way. And you might end up hurting yourself, whether that's skin breakdown or, something is going to occur. And you would know because you operate in so many different disciplines to say, well, yeah, if I'm playing basketball, that might be one setup. If I'm riding a bike, that might be a different setup. If I'm sprinting,
Correct.
that's a completely different setup. And most people that I speak to that know nothing about the community go, "Oh, you actually need like multiple?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's very important." And I agree with your thought about, don't we want people like out of the house? Doesn't the country want, I mean, I hate to put it this way, but tax paying citizens?
Yeah, that's why I said it. I mean, it's
And the way we pay is when we're out doing, working, living.
correct.
It makes for a more productive society.
Correct.
It works in terms of the economy. I mean, if we want to talk about, capitalism and people sucking off the system, because there tends to be this animus towards, all these, people who aren't on disability. And it's like, well, how are they not going to be? They can't even get the stuff they need to be able to go and get a job,
Yep.
And I think those conversations are really important. And I know a lot of folks don't want to get in the weeds on that. But these are the conversations that need to occur at the government level. And I appreciate that your savvy and your maturity and how you've evolved as a person has kind of brought you into that space. And who better to speak to that than someone like yourself, who's like, hey, I've been in this situation my whole life.
Correct.
And I've seen the evolution of perceptions, lawmaking, policy, insurance, where it breaks down financially, culturally, all of the things that affect my outcomes. And here's the thing, not everyone has the drive, the ambition, the resilience of a world-class athlete. They just don't. So we have to give them as many tools as possible so that they remain engaged and inspired to do those things. Because obviously there's something in you. I mean, let's face it. There's something in you that drove you.
Sure.
Whatever that was. And we'd all love to package it and sell it because we'd be billionaires if we could.
Yep.
We'll just give you this little potion and you drink it and you just go, right? Not everyone has that. Some people struggle more. Some people tend to thrive a little bit faster. They adapt a little bit faster. So when I speak to someone that's homebound, my first thought is they need tools. They need support. They need resources. They need help. What's your support system? What do you have in place? How can we lift you up? Because no one's going to get there unless there's someone carrying them to some degree. And I think it's important to recognize that we're not all built the same way. And I know we're getting close to wrapping up, and I feel like I've been talking to you for 5 minutes.
I know. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's so many things to get into. I do want to say this, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
A few things I wanted to touch on. Well, just one. It's funny you were talking about your superpowers. So I've been getting back into basketball. My son and I, we just played 2-on-2 with a 20 and an 18-year-old. And like I said, he's turning 13. And it's funny, you were talking about your leg, and then I started playing with them. And then I did a move, and I floated in the air, and they were like, "You got superpowers in that leg?" And the misconception of like, hey, this helps me. No, it takes way more effort for me to do things like this. And so, but now I get a chance to play 2-on-2 with him. He's a big guy. He's 5'9", and so now we're playing basketball, and I get a chance to kind of show through that. And I'm gonna use that to pivot into just the other thing about us and using what we have. And I just really want people to understand that this is a gift. And at no point in time, there are times when I know, again, that there may be a brand or a company that wants me to come, maybe because I'm just a person of color with disability.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I'm like, but guess what? First of all, I hate to sound like this, but I've been doing this for a long time, literally 17, 18 years. I've probably volunteered and done things for free all the time. So now first it's like, is there a paycheck involved? So I have to explain this to my wife, right? So, if I'm going to come out there dancing, I got to get paid. That's number one. Number two, but it's just, again, are we making an impact? And I think that so I do see a lot of people that I meet. It's so funny. I get into these spaces. We went to Kenya this year and we helped over 45 children receive prosthetics, raising donations with the Limb Khan Foundation. And some people are saying, how come more high-level athletes don't do things like that? Or you've been to an ACA conference. Have you ever been to an Amputee? How come more high-level athletes don't go to an ACA conference? Things like that, because there's a perception, and a lot of it is very self-focused. And I think a lot of the times is when we're focusing on ourselves, then we get away from the mission and the impact that we're supposed to make. And so it can't be all about ourselves and the accolades. And so to round it off with your question that you asked me about the challenge, that's what challenges me still now, is now that I'm pivoting. I'm pivoting to all of these things. And at 39, I'm reinventing myself, not as an athlete, not as an actor, not even as a speaker, but as an educator, someone who works in the industry. And I'm leaning on taking my speaking business. I'm writing a book. So my book should be releasing early 2027, and living in that experience, not about myself, but of how can we help people? Because as a young person, I used to go off my feelings. And if I felt right, then this had to be right. And even though I was doing good, I always wanted to make good, but it needs to feel right for me.
Yeah.
And as I get older, I realized, my wife and I, we talk about this all the time, I can't find that feeling, that spice that I used to feel when I was young. It used to, and I'm, a lot of people I talk to as we get old, it's not there, right? Like that, it's just not there. What I find that spice in is really within helping people and make an impact, because as you get older, you realize that's what helps you live longer. That's what helps your name live longer. And that's how you help the next generation. And you said it to me in the car, but now I'm countering you. You're like, I'm not the guru. People sometimes think I'm the guru. Rick, you are the guru. That's why you're doing the podcast. That's why you got Brian and this amazing production team, because you are the guru and you have the skill set. And so many people are learning from what you're doing. And by being able to give me a platform to share still, so it's amazing. And you're doing it. And even though maybe we can't all find that feeling, you are really doing it to a larger scale. So it's just an honor to be amped up with you, sir.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. I almost feel like we should just end it right now.
I'm sorry. I know
I shouldn't even do my last question.
No, do it.
He wrapped it up.
Do it. Edit it back, Brian. We need to switch the edit and put that on the back end.
No, I thought, if we had a time machine and you could go back and talk to your 20-year-old self, and you wanted to talk to that young man about what life had in store, I mean, what would you say to yourself?
Love it. A lot of the kids that I coach and I do life coaching for ask me this. So it's same answer every time. So don't be a worrier, be a warrior. I think at 20, I worried a lot. Is this going to work out? What's going to happen with my leg? Am I ever going to get a job? I worried so much, and everything's okay. We are 100%, all of us, 100% accurate and successful at overcoming our struggles, because we're all here right now. And so don't worry, it's going to be okay. That's what I would tell my 20-year-old self.
Yeah. No, that's really wise. And I appreciate you being in that reflective space and being able to share that with the audience, and just everything that you do and everything that you contribute to this community. And you're not one of those people that I see as just talk. You're all about action. And to me, those are the people that I want to surround myself with, because I've definitely had my share of talkers in my life, and that's all good and fine. But, Nike came up with this slogan that I always, thought was really cool, and it was just do it. Like, stop talking. And so often people on my team in business will come to me with a worry, an issue, a problem. And 9 times out of 10, my response is, what are you going to do? It's not an answer. It's not a solution. It's what are you going to do? And to me, that's where the character build occurs. And we find out, who has it, who's pressure tested, who can get through something. And I very much see you in that light of just, Rob's about action. He does it. He gets out there and he just makes it happen. And thank you so much for being here today. It's been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I'll let you just let the audience know in terms of speaking engagements, in terms of support, guidance, how do you prefer people reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, one, I want to add to the what do you do? So I just did a team talk this past Friday. So a good friend of mine, he's doing team talk summits. And so it's not why me, it's actually what's next? And that's the question that we need to ask. Instead of the things that have happened to us, the next question is what's next? And that's how I attack life. And I tell them that follow me online. You'll see I'm not a speaker. I am someone who's about action. I'm actively doing what I'm saying I'm doing. And you can follow it. But for me, what's next is, one, I'm working on my book. Super excited about that. L'Impossible, and speaking is taking it off. I have a lot of gigs booked for the end of the year, so I'm super excited to share that on this platform. And please, I'm just encouraging everyone to continue to support, follow the mission, robertanthony.us. Anything online, social media is robertanthony.speaker. And again, I'm just excited to be amped up with you, my brother. And I'm really, really honored to have been on the early episodes and now to be taking off on the new venture and be here in person with you. So thank you for having me, man.
That's amazing. Yes, I am Rick Bonkowski. This is the Amp'd Up211 Podcast. I want to thank Robert, of course, and our entire audience. And I want to wish everyone health and happiness. And we'll see you next time.